Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, January the 2nd, 2022. Well, we made it through a whole year. I can't believe it. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update I'll be putting on YouTube, and wish everyone a happy new year. I hope you had a safe celebration if you celebrated, and we're here, and I'll be here reporting for as long as I can on specifically methane and sea ice, and I cover earthquakes and the climate, usually on Climate Reanalyzer, other things, and we track things on NASA Worldview as well. So we'll just be seeing how things unfold as this year goes along. I believe we're in the end times, and that's the specific reason that I keep doing these shows week in and week out and day in and day out, to alert people as to where we are, and we're very close to the end. And Jesus prophesied of the earth changes that were going to happen at the end times, and then he also a lot of other things too, and you can read them in the Bible, and that's why I bring things back to that spiritual perspective. So we're going to start out with methane. Now, here on CAMS, their latest data is from Friday the 31st, and normally they will put up, got the methane and the carbon dioxide up to date, up to the day, but a lot of times around the end of the year, the first of the next year, it'll be down for a few days. I don't know if they're tweaking algorithms or uploading new data sets. They just started using a new data set back in November and early December, which we saw where everything shows like 3 or 4 times higher, or in 3 or 4 of these color ledgers higher. So we'll just have to see what happens. As soon as CAMS comes back online with new data, I'll be recording that and posting it on my Subscribestar page. And if you like these updates and you'd like to see updates during the week, I recommend you visit my Subscribestar page and consider joining. And we'd love to have you over there, and the link is in the description box below. So we're going to start out with the NOAA data for the 31st and then the 1st. So here it was for Friday the 31st for the 477/469 millibar reading for the MET-OP-B, which is the MET-OP-1 satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1917 parts per billion. This high reading was 2861. Now that's a spike. We normally don't see this number that high. We don't know where it happened, just somewhere in the pink zone. And there are a lot of pinks on this map. In the afternoon, the mean was 1919 and the high reading was 2440. And then for the 1st, or yesterday, the mean was 1919 in the morning. The high reading was 2449. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1918 and the high reading was 2464. Here's the spreadsheet and chart that I'm working off of. So, so for the 31st, it averages out to be 1918, which was a decrease over the day before of 1.5. And then for the first, it comes out to be 1918.5, which is an increase of 0.5. Now, in my show last Sunday, here was the Saturday data for, it was at 1918. So we ended up, excuse me, half a part per billion higher for the week. And well, I'll show you what happened this week. So Saturday it was 1918, Sunday no change. Monday it went up 2 parts per billion. Tuesday it went back down 2 parts per billion. Wednesday it went down 1.5. Thursday it shot up 3 parts per billion. Friday it went down 1.5. And then Saturday it went up 0.5. Averaging out to be 0.5 higher than last week. Now last week it went up 4.5. So have we peaked out? I mean, have we bottomed out? I think we probably have. We could have. And we're 32.5 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago. Now this time last year, methane was still going down, or last season it was yeah, it was in the year. It was still going down in early January, and then it started going back up. So here we are with our chart. The little blue line is still going up. We're almost at this 1920 line right here. Now this is very disturbing, because if we bottomed out here on December the 18th at 1913.5, that means that methane is just going to be skyrocketing. I mean, it already is off the chart, but we're at 1918 right now. We were at 1918 at the end of July this last year, in the middle of the summer, where it was going up. So that's only 5 months. Well, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, we were at the same rate. Now, here, last season, it bottomed out on January the 12th of 2021 at 1882.5. And see, it was going down in December. It went up 0.5 on that week of the 19th of December last year, and then it was going down until January the 12th. Now the year before that, the season before that, it bottomed out on January the 28th of 2019 at 1872. And then, see, it went up. January 4th, that week of January 4th, it went up 4.5. And that was it. That was the end of of it going down. I mean, it stair-stepped and it hovered, but it bottomed out there in December. So that's where we're at. And see, here, there was July. July going into August. So there's that. Now we'll look at the CAMS data. We're going to look at Friday. This is the last data that they have up, the 31st. Arctic view and surface level. There's our color ledger at the bottom. Now the data is for Friday and the forecast period is for Saturday through Tuesday. Now we've been seeing some high, look at Comson Mall, it's just out of control. But we've been seeing reds all across this East Siberian Sea and swirling around this week, and even some darker reds popping up. I'm thinking that we're having blowouts from the seabed, and it's coming up through the sea ice, but no one's really going to talk about that. The ones in the know are not going to talk about it because they want to keep their jobs. They know that this is it. You can see, look at here at Russia, all this dark, in these waves moving across. And by the time they get around to investigating and studying and writing up their research and peer reviewing it and publishing it, we'll all be dead. So it's kind of a moot point. Now here we've got, look at this in the U.S. this is North Dakota. This area here, there's a lignite coal mine there, and a carbon sequestration unit, where they're sequestering the carbon dioxide and shipping it up to Canada. So I don't know how that's working out. Last I heard, they were losing money on the operation, but I think it's really hard to sequester that. But look at this wave, that dark all the way across. And then up here in this area in Canada is where the tar sands are. It's popping off at Iceland again on that southern end. It's where the volcano is that's been going off. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. So here's Spain and Portugal. That's filled up all across the southern part of Europe and the UK. But look at this area. It just spreads out all the way across to Russia. Here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India. See, it's still spilling over in this Bengal Bay and in the Arabian Sea. Here's China. See it spilling over as well. And this North America looks awful too. Look at this wave that moves down. After it rains really big, or we have a big storm where there's rain or snow, usually after that the methane gets really high because of the moisture. And so look at Texas. Anyway, you can see for yourself in California. See these waves moving off of the continent. That's very high methane. Now we'll pop down to the Antarctic. So here's the Western Peninsula. Here's South America down here. And this is the Weddell Sea up here. Down here is the Ross Sea and the Ross Ice Shelf. Now we're seeing this darker blue now coming in. It's at 1820 parts per billion. That's lower than that lighter blue, which was 1840. That had been covering up the southern hemisphere in the north in this new data set. But as methane seems to be going down in the southern hemisphere while it's going up in the northern hemisphere, because these colors are reflecting lower readings down here in the southern hemisphere at least. Now as this light blue kind of dissipates, as that goes away, we'll be able to discern the methane coming up around the coastlines, and we're seeing it. It's still coming up. It's just you can't see it that much through that light blue. But here I can see it. Here, the Brunt Ice Shelf. That's kind of a constant. We'll look at the global view. Yeah, this Western Russia area, this whole area is just really covered. Let's see, and then it just moves out. We still have this white spot near Beijing in China. That's where it's higher than the 10,000 parts per billion, which is the highest reading on this color ledger. We're seeing some navy blue pop in now. That's a lower reading still. That's 1,800 parts per billion. So we got a little bit popping here in the Pacific and the Atlantic. Now we'll look at 500 HPA, and this correlates to what the level we're studying on NOAA. Look at all this dark. It's covering from, see, it's even dipping down into the northern US, but it's covering Canada, all across the Arctic, Greenland, dipping down south of this Norwegian area or Scandinavian area. Then most of Russia is covered with it too. That darkest reading. No blues. We're not seeing any blues down here in the southern hemisphere. So I think we could have bottomed out for this season. And here's total column. We've got highest readings here in China. Got some high readings here. This is in the Finland area. And then lots of reds spreading out, reds and oranges. So there's that. I'm going to close that one out. Now go on. We've got just a few more images from cams for today. Here's sulfur dioxide today. Now it's been coming up down here at Tonga. There's been an underwater volcano that's been going off, but it's just intermittent and it's not releasing that much sulfur dioxide anymore. We've got the highest readings here in China. This is from pollution. Here it is at 500 HPA. Now we've got a high reading here in Colombia. There's a volcano up here. I think it's Reventador that's goes off a lot there in Colombia. This is the ozone. This is the Antarctic for today, the ozone layer. And so we don't have any in the danger zone now. It's still quite thin. See the green and even the yellow-green, that's below average. The solid yellow is 300 Dobson units, which is considered to be average or a good layer. So it's still quite thin over a lot of the continent there, you can see. This is the Arctic view of the ozone. And we've got really thick ozone here. China and Russia and coming across and over Alaska. It's kind of thin over Greenland right now. And here's the global view of the ozone layer. So we've got a break right down here in the South Indian Ocean. So we got green all the way down. And then we've got aqua here in Central America. And then the greens all the way around the mid-latitudes. And it's getting further south, more green. And you can see Australia and New Zealand are both in the green. And the interior of Australia is kind of in that the blue-green. I don't know what color you want to call that. So that's even thinner. So be careful. Anyone down there, you know, be very careful when you go outside. Look, all of South America, look at Africa. I mean, with that thin of an ozone layer, you're going to get burned really fast, and lots of skin cancers will be showing up. Protect yourself, wear long sleeves, wear a hat with a big brim. Try not to go out, and right in the midday, that's when it's the worst with the ozone. So there's that. That's all of those. Now let's tour through Climate Reanalyzer next. Here are the maximum temperatures for today. And we can see Australia, a lot of that is in the white, and that's going up. That's, see, past 40, see, you know, 40, that, I mean, that's above 100 degrees. So Australia, you're baking, and New Zealand, you're getting on up there too. Look at South America down here in the southern part. That's in the white. That's like 45 C. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly. Now, in Siberia, eastern Siberia, see, it's in the pink zone, so that's a lot higher than normal. That's up to 24 C, and going into the white, 24 to 26 C, higher than normal up there. That's not good. But look at all these blues and purples across Russia, and there's methane coming up in these areas. So it just goes to show, you can have cold air temperatures and still have high release of methane. Let's see, we got red on the east coast of the US, and we got blues and purples for the rest of the country. Canada, most of Canada is in the blues. Alaska is now in the blues and purples. They had been a lot warmer than normal, but now they're in colder than normal. So it's crazy weather. Worldwide, we're up 0.3 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.4 C. The Arctic is down 1.7 C lower than normal. The Antarctic is up 0.1 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.1 C. And the tropics are up 0.3 C. Precipitation and clouds. The green is rain, and the blue is snow. Here's this big storm that's going up across the east and the northeast now in the US. It's also raining down next to this western peninsula in the Antarctic. It's getting very close to it. And see the pink down here. That is freezing rain. So that's up to the coastline here in the Antarctic. That's just east of the Weddell Sea. Weddell Sea is right here. So that's coming up around that northwest edge of the continent. And there's no stream here with the jet jet stream is just pieces. It's just, and look at this loop here over the Antarctic. That's where they've got the freezing rain. See, that's a high pressure system, so that's got some warm air. And see how it breaks here and goes south to the equator, and then it picks back up here in the Atlantic, and then it breaks further up. I mean, there's any normalcy of a jet stream is over. It broke. It broke, and it's not going back together. I was calling it clumps, but it doesn't even look clumpy now. It's just pieces. This is sea ice and snow cover. See, it's really melting around the Antarctic. We'll look closer at the Arctic sea ice in a minute. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This was last updated for Wednesday the 29th, so this is that's all we've got. So we're still seeing brown here around Svalbard and in the Barents Sea, reddish brown around Greenland, and reds and pinks even off the coast of the US. And the Gulf of Mexico, see, that's into the red zone now, so this is all warmer than normal. And then here's the flat view. We've got red down here off the coast of South America. Lots of browns, see, and reds around Japan and coming across the Pacific. But we've got a lot of blues too. So we've got blue off the coast of Canada and western US, so that's colder than normal. And here in the Pacific, so worldwide we're up 0.3 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.4 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.7 C. The North Pacific is up 0.3 C. The Southern Hemisphere is up 0.2 C. And the Equatorial Pacific is down 0.3 C. So there's those. Now let's move on to sea ice. We'll go through our slideshow here. I download these images from Climate Reanalyzer every day so we can have our slideshow. And it's all part of my research, my daily things I go through. Here we are today on January 2nd, 2022, and let's zoom in. Now, we can see the Hudson Bay is about refrozen, just a little bit on this eastern edge, still filling in. This little gulf is filling in. This Baffin Bay is still having issues. See, it's still open on this west side of Greenland, way up, and it's refreezing further down on this east side of the Greenland coast, and it's still open on two sides of Svalbard, on this west side and southern side, and it's coming back it's creeping back here in this Barents Sea, and the Kara Sea is now refrozen and up to the Russia coastline there, and we've got a little bit of refreeze coming back on the western side of Novaya Zemlya. Then it's refrozen all the way across from Canada over to Russia, and Bering Strait's refrozen, and some more extent coming out in the Bering Sea, and up here in the Okhotsk Sea it's refreezing a tiny bit. You can see all the white on the land. That's the snow cover. You can see Russia, it's almost all white. So we'll go through our slideshow for this week. And you know, in the middle of winter it's hard to tell too much change, and I mean it gets really dramatic in the summertime from day to day when it's in high melt, but we'll go through this. So here we were last Sunday for my show, December 26th. So we'll just click through. Here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, like I said, you can't tell that much of a change there. That's all of those. Now we'll go through the rest of these models. This is from the U.S. Navy. This is sea ice thickness for the Arctic. Here's the color chart on the right. It's mainly purples, blues, and aquas, and so you're going, if it's light lavender, like here in the Hudson Bay, that's about 1/2 meter thick. Then when you get to dark purple, that's about 1 meter thick. The dark blue is about 1.25 meters thick. The dark aqua is about 1.5 up to 2 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. And then as it moves into green, you're getting into 3 meters and higher. We don't have much green, just a little bit of green down here next to the Canada coastline and here around the Greenland coastline. So let's zoom in on this. We can see there's still a hole up here in the North Baffin Bay next to this northwest edge of Greenland. So for whatever reason, that water is warm and not refreezing. Then we can see it coming down around Greenland on this eastern edge. Here, it's trying to come back around Svalbard. It's struggling. We have a little bit of fringe coming out there. Then here in the Barents Sea, it's creeping out. And very thin here in the Kara Sea, but it is refrozen there. And here around Franz Josef Land, see the white? This is probably where the ice was pulled away from the coastline because of the ice drift. And here's Severnaya Zemlya. This little island is Komsomolets, and this is the area where we see it constantly billowing, the methane billowing on cams for the last 2 years. And it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. Now we're seeing darker purples and moving into blues in this East Siberia Sea. And we've got some aquas coming in around the coastlines. And here in the Beaufort Sea, we're moving into blues and aquas now. And see this main part just above Canada and Greenland. See, it's thickening up. We're getting more into aquas now. A little bit past the North Pole and even up into Quadrant 1 here. And I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4 just so we can have a reference point. Here in the Bering Strait, we've got some aqua coming across. Then it's quite thin as you move out into the Pacific side. And then we've got thin ice, but it is refreezing here in the Okhotsk Sea around the Russia coastline. And these tributaries in Canada, see, they're thickening up a little bit. Here's the 30-day animation. Now the data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. It was updated to yesterday. So let's see what they're forecasting for this. Now if you look here in the Baffin Bay, it looks like that's melting. It had refrozen, and look in the forecast period, it's a whole big area that's opening up. Look at that big triangle shape of white. So for whatever reason, that's melting. So that's not a good sign. So we can watch this area. This is what we have of the thicker sea ice. See, moving into aqua, dark aqua there. So I'm going to stop it here. Here we are. We're at the last day of the forecast period. So let's go back through. So here we are last Saturday. So just slight changes. It's not huge changes from day to day. Just gradual, very gradual thickening. It's just kind of holding. Now there's an area, if you look here, this is Alaska on this northwest edge. There's an area there that's opening up. See that? And see around this Alaska coastline, it's opening up. Almost like that's melting. I don't know what's going on there. So that's not a good sign either. So the ice is struggling. It's having a hard time here. We've got a little fringe of green right here above Canada, and a little touch of reddish orange, and then just a little bit above Greenland too. This is the Beaufort sea ice thickness view, still from the Navy. Here we are today, and Alaska is here at the bottom. We've got aqua along that north edge. Right down here, it's under the black thing there. See, it's white, so there's no ice there for whatever reason. And just getting a little bit of aqua coming back and turning into the darker blues. Now right here next to Canada, we've got a little touch of red-orange, so that's about 4 meters thick right there. Just that little area. We've got some greens around, so that's about 3 meters thick. And then the bright to darker aqua, so 2 to 2.5 meters thick right along in here. Now there's a break. Here, I'll zoom in. You can see the purple along the coastline there. That's where the ice has been pulled away from the coastline. That's from ice drift. This ice, you have to remember, is dynamic and moving. It's not static. The waves toss it around all the time. Okay, here's the 30-day animation, and this was updated to today, so the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So if you watch here, so the ice in the forecast period is going to be smashed back up along the coastline, and when that happens, it starts piling up and thickening up. The ice drift, pushes the ice towards the coastline. There we go. Here we are on next Sunday, the 9th. See, we got a little bit more red there coming in. And now it's up against the coastline. See, here we were today, so we'll just click through. So there's that. Slow going. Okay, now we'll hop to the Antarctic. This is for today, sea ice thickness. This is shocking to see all this ice that's melted on this north coast. See, it's all the way up to the coastline where it's melted. Look how it's thinned out in the Weddell Sea. We just have a little bit of thicker ice up along the coastline on this western peninsula, and here next to the Weddell ice shelf, and along this eastern side got a little bit of aqua out on this western side too, and a little bit around the coastlines. This Ross Sea is open right up for a huge area, and then a fringe of ice further out. Here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday. So again, the data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. Now look how this Ross Sea is melting out. Here we are at the end of the forecast period. See, it's just going down to almost nothing there. It's also melting all around this western coastline. The Thwaites Glacier is, that tongue is coming apart. We'll look at that today too. Look at this Weddell Sea, how it's really just coming apart now. This north end, a whole big area that's melted out, and then melting down to the coastline in a lot of areas. Now traditionally, most of the ice around the Antarctic melts during their summertime, and then it refreezes during their winter time. But it is in very high melt mode. Now this is from National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is what they put up today. This is as of yesterday, the 1st. This is sea ice concentration for the Arctic. This corresponds to what we saw on the other models. See, this golden line is the median. So we're still below that. Now here's the chart for sea ice extent. The blue line is this year. This dotted line was 2012 to 2013. And we're running just parallel to that, to 2012 and 2013. It's just a tiny bit higher. And 2013 was the lowest year for extent. Now you remember, extent is just how far out the ice is. It doesn't take into account thickness or volume or concentration. So the fact that we have extent coming back, if it's really thin, that'll melt really fast. So you have to remember, in 2012, what we had then was much, much thicker. This gray line is the average. Here's the Antarctic sea ice concentration for yesterday. Now you can really see where it's melted up to the coastlines up here on the north end, and look in this Weddell Sea how it's just diminishing, and here in the Ross Sea. Now the Ross ice shelf is right here. It's melted all the way up to the ice shelf and around this western edge. Here's extent for the Antarctic. This blue line is this year. This gray-green line is last year. This light gray line is the median or average. Now it was going straight down, but this week it's kind of angled out a little bit to the right, showing that the melting is slowing down a little bit, but it's still below where we were last year and way below the average. That's all of those. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. Here's the Arctic for today. This big black area, that's where it's still in the dark. It hasn't really started, this big circle hasn't started retreating yet. And the nighttime layer is not very helpful. today, so we're not even going to bother with it. I already looked. Sometimes it's really good, just depending on the angle of the sun, but now it's not very useful. It's not showing any good stuff. It's hard to make out. So here we are with sea ice concentration for today. Here you can see that hole up by Greenland. See the colors. And here around Svalbard, where it's open. This is the North Pole. Here's Novaya Zemlya, and here's the ice coming back around there. And here's where it's regrowing around the Russia coastline. And a little fringe of ice here in the Barents Sea coming back. And there's the Russia coastline. And then here's the Bering Sea. And where it's regrowing. And up here, that's the Okhotsk Sea, and here's the Russia coastline there. So, let's just go back. Okay, let's go back to, we'll go to the 26th of December last year. This is where we were last Sunday. Remember this Baffin Bay, we were seeing some problems there. It was having a hard time freezing. It was melting out. So let's see what's happened this week. So that's refreezing. It's getting better there. And here we are today. So we want to see all white for the concentration. Where you see pink, that means that it's not completely all solid ice. There's like openings. Either the leads aren't all frozen together or something like that. Or you got holes somewhere. So there's that. Now we'll hop down to the Antarctic. Here's the Western Peninsula. Here's the Ross Sea. Down here, Ross Ice Shelf and the northern edge. We'll start here on the southern end in the Ross Sea. Look at all this open water. Now we've got clouds. Now, there had been some ice left. There, see, it's really breaking up. See the big pieces here? That's moving out. Here's the Ross Island. That's cloud covered right now. Can't see much. Here it was on the 30th, where there were no clouds. This is Mount Erebus, the big volcano. And see, there was ice. Just even on the 30th, see how much ice. Well, it was kind of going down, but that's broken up now. Let's see. So that open water goes way out, see? And here's the fringe of ice, the light lavender that we saw on the Navy model. Let's see, that's not much. And you could just drive a ship through that no problem. And then here, see, it's melted all the way up to the coastlines. And sometimes around the coastline there's just a little edge of ice that's hanging on. But see that little lip, little shelf, see that's breaking up. We're coming around. Now this is the Thwaites Glacier. It's in cloud cover right now. Here it was yesterday. This tongue it's got a big crack coming down. Let's see. Here it was. The best view that we've had recently was on the 27th. So this is the tongue coming down, and see how it's melting all the way around there. Let's see. And it's melting up high too. Well, here, see, we saw that last time. And over here, the glacier is right through there. And see these pieces, it's melting really fast. So let's look. Here it was on the 29th. Look at, see that hole? That's getting a little bigger. It's opening here, here, over here. We're starting to see signs of melting over there. Then here's the 30th. There's the hole. Here's a hole. Here's clouds. And then 31st. Now we can make out through the clouds, see a lot of ice is broken off there. And the 1st. And here we are today. A lot of clouds. Then if we move right up, this is Pine Island Glacier. We've got clouds over that. And there's the where the ice had refrozen. Now this is breaking up here. This calved off a couple of years ago right up here, and we can see that hole is getting bigger. Here's a cloud. Here's a good view on the 31st, and see this jagged line, that's where it had calved off. We've got a hole opening up on this west side too, so that's going to open up, I think. Here's the ice flow. And these lumps, these are icebergs that had broken off when it calved, and then they got refrozen in the sea ice. So this sea ice is not real thick. So I expect this to melt. And I expect this to calve off. Okay, here's this western edge. See, a lot more melting going on here. And here's the Weddell Sea. Now, look. See, that's all coming apart. That's just ice cubes in there. Here's the ice shelf. Down here on the western side, this is the Western Peninsula. Now we've got a lot of clouds right now, But I want to show now here for the 29th. See, there's open water. Now down here, this is where that A76 iceberg had broken off before their winter. It's right up here. You can make it out. See the straight line underneath the cloud. So it's moving out. It's making its way, and can't really make out too much. Here we can see it under the cloud. It's intact. It's amazing how it's just staying intact as it moves along. Now, this is a good view of the Brunt ice shelf today. Now, this ice lip, that's been breaking off. See these cracks. These have been there a while. Here's a cloud. See all that open water. Now this is an area all along this ice shelf where methane has been coming up, and still is, I imagine. Once the colors kind of change on cams, we'll be able to see evidence. Now here's the north end, and this is, see, that's ice free. Those are clouds we're looking through. See, it's melted all the way up to the coastline. There's no ice up here. See, that's just clouds. It's kind of constantly cloudy up there. Constant storms. And it's right up here is where we saw the freezing rain that was on Climate Reanalyzer. Here on this east side, this is the Amory ice shelf. See, this ice is melting and moving out. See, this is blue. There are several glaciers that empty out on this ice shelf. This is another area where methane comes up all the time. Moving on around, see it's all breaking up. And then down here, this is the Totten Glacier. Here was the 31st. Here's the tongue. Now that broke off earlier. And that crack is going all the way across. I'm just expecting this to break off any time. And see this other crack. It's just kind of hanging out. But you never know what's going to happen there. Here we are. And we're back to where we started here. Okay, now we'll look at some earthquakes. Here we are on USGS today. We're seeing 191 in the last 24 hours. We've got some big ones coming in. This is a new one. 6.0 near Sola, Vanuatu. See, it's in the ocean right next to these little islands. That just came in 104 kilometers deep. Well, it came in at 6:09 my time. And the South Atlantic is coming back to life. It looks like here around the South Sandwich Islands region, we've got 5.1, 4.8, and 5.0 in the last 24 hours. Of note also is right up at the top end of the Juan de Fuca plate. Right here is a 4.4, just off of Vancouver Island, off the north end. We've got, what's this, 3.0 at Button Willow, California. That just came in at 7:02. Let's look at 7 days. All magnitude 7 days. Now we had another Arctic earthquake right up here next to Severnaya Zemlya. That was a 4.9 that came in on the 29th at 5:58 in the morning. See, right on the red line. Not too far from the North Pole. And then had another one at Greenland on land. See, right on the red line. This tectonic plate line goes right through the island of Iceland. I said Greenland. Iceland, 4.5 at Hoffen, only 6 kilometers deep. And then 5.0 in the middle of the Atlantic. Also, we had one just south of Portugal of 4.3. Now remember, La Palma is right over here. So these are in that vicinity of, that La Palma area. Also, Crete was pretty busy, had 5 this week, with a 5.7 being the largest one, just off the southern coast there. And look at all this activity. See, here in the Indian Ocean. Also, there was a 7.3 at Los Palos, Timor-Leste. It was in the ocean just next to this little island. That came in on the 29th, 10:25 in the morning Pacific time, 166 kilometers deep. And then all of these are aftershocks after that. Lots of movement. Look at New Zealand. They had 4 earthquakes this week. on USGS. There were two Blenheim 4.5 two 4.5s at Blenheim. This is just on the northeast coast of the southern island. Then here's one at Plymouth, a 3.0 New Plymouth on the west coast of the North Island, and then one 4.6 Opotiki just north of the North Island. Then here in the Aleutian Islands, just off the coast of Kamchatka, look at all of these. 9, most of them at Attu Station. 5.7 was the largest. See all of this on the Juan de Fuca plate this week. Here's a 4.7, and then these are 3s. Also, this Petrolia area has still been going off this week. This is the fulcrum point where the San Andreas fault line meets up with the Juan de Fuca plate. So there's a lot of pressure here. 25 here this week at Petrolia. 3.6 looks like was the largest. And then I wanted to show down here in Southern California at Palomar Observatory, there were 61 in this region. This is a mountainous area, and they were fairly small. 2.6. Most of them were under 1. Here's a 3.0 there. That was on the 31st at 1:30 in the morning. And that's the largest one. But this formed for a couple of days, so I don't know what's going on there. So look at all of that. Texas, and so on and so forth. So that's my report for today. And I will finish out the show by bringing our attention back to spiritual things as we continue to read out of the Bible, out of the book of John. And this is the story of Jesus, the story of Jesus. All of these red words are Jesus' words. John chapter 16. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you. But now I go my way to him that sent me, and none of you asketh me, Whither goest thou? But because I have said these things unto you, sorrow hath filled your heart. Nevertheless, I tell you the truth. It is expedient for you that I go away. For if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you. And when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin, and of righteousness, and of judgment. Of sin, because they believe not on me. Of righteousness, because I go to my Father, and ye see me no more. Of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak. And he will shew you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine, and shall shew it unto you. All things that the Father hath are mine. Therefore said I, that he shall take of mine, and shall shew it unto you. A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me, because I go to the Father. Then said some of the disciples among themselves, What is this that he saith unto us, A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me, and because I go to the Father. They said therefore, What is this that he saith, A little while? We cannot tell what he saith. Now Jesus knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said unto them, Do ye inquire among yourselves of that I said, A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while, and ye shall see me? Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish, for joy that a man is born into the world. And ye now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no more man taketh from you. And in that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he shall give it you. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time cometh, when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall shew you plainly of the Father. At that day ye shall ask in my name, and I say not unto you, that I will pray the Father for you, for the Father himself loveth you, because ye have loved me, and have believed that I came out from God. I came forth from the Father, and am come into the world again. I leave the world, and go to the Father. His disciples said unto him, Lo, now thou speakest thou plainly, and speakest no proverb. Now are we sure that thou knowest all things, and needest not that any man should ask thee. But this we believe, that thou camest forth from God. Jesus answered them, Do ye now believe? Behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. John chapter 16. So just as Jesus was persecuted in this world, we will be persecuted. It's written of, he just told us, but he's gone before us to prepare a place for us, those of us who believe. And if you believe on him, you shall have everlasting life. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and whoever shall believe on me shall have everlasting life. The only way to heaven is through him. So if you want to be in heaven, if you want to have him guide you and protect you while you're here, go ahead and repent. Ask him to forgive your sins, and ask him to come into your heart and to guide you and to be with you. And he will. He's just waiting. So I hope everyone has a good week, and Lord willing, I'll be here next week for another update. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. Until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.